Hi, I'm Billy Keels, the host of the Going Long podcast. Every week, I'm going to be here interviewing the absolute best in the business as it relates to real asset investing, as well as real Main Street investors. We're going to be having conversations where you can listen in, and that's going to help you to continue on your path to education so that you feel much more comfortable as well as confident in investing long distance. So make sure that you go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Make sure that you're liking it as well, because that way you can get every single episode as soon as it comes out. And by the way, don't forget to leave today's episode a 5-star review. Let's go ahead and listen to today's conversation. Welcome to the Going Long podcast. We're back once again to continue to help to educate you so that you feel more comfortable and confident as you go out to have more control investing beyond your backyard. I'm your host, Billy Keels. And you know what? If you've ever wanted to know how to go from rookie to Rockstar in the real estate investment space, then guess what? You're definitely going to want to stick around, because today's guest actually has something special that he's going to share with you. Because when he got started as a residential sales agent, he quickly rose to the top of his sales class. He actually even became the number one salesperson and led the number one sales team in the Carolinas. During that time, he transacted over 40 million in real estate transactions. He was also recognized as Charlotte's top 30 under 30. He is the founder and CEO of Q.C.Capital, and he is also the host of the popular podcast, Mindful Multifamily. Today's guest is Mr. Chris Salerno. Chris, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you so much for having me. Super excited to add value to all your listeners and viewers, and excited to chat with you.
Chris, this is a long time coming, man. We've been connected for like over a year, and I'm really excited to get here and have you share your goodness with the audience. So
yes, very excited to add value, and I know we've been connected. I mean, it's crazy how fast the year flies. But I know, in a blink of an eye. But yes, it's been great, and very excited for it.
Awesome. So listen, Chris, I'd like to get things started out here for our Going Long audience with the first two questions are always the same. Yep. Number one, I'd like to know, what city are you in today?
I am in Charlotte, North Carolina. Been here the past 13 years.
Fantastic. Charlotte, North Carolina. Yes. I love that city. Love that city. So awesome. Chris, also share another thing with us, man. What is the most positive thing that's happened to you in the last 24 hours?
Ooh, I love that. And I always, no matter what negative situations that gets presented to me, I always try to find the positive out of it. And I would say really having deep conversations with my fiance over the past 24 hours definitely led us to come deeper into each other in a relationship, which is very important for all relationships. And with that positivity that was drawn out of that, it's definitely I think it made us come closer. So I would say, communication is key. And when you communicate, you need to find the positive out of any negative situation. And when that happens, you will grow as a person. Your character will grow, and it's phenomenal.
Really love that, man. Love that, because it's those little things, and communication is so key. You hit it right on the head. So thank you for sharing that with us, Chris. Sure. I really appreciate that. You're getting us started off on that right foot.
Let's do it. I love
you know what, Chris? So I've kind of highlighted on a couple things. I didn't tell even half the story. There's a lot more that you've done and that you continue to do. So can you help our Going Long audience understand a little bit more about who is Mr. Chris Salerno and some of the things that you've done?
Yeah, thank you. And thank you again for having me. Super excited to be on here. I didn't come from a very wealthy family. I came from a family that mother worked at a corporate job. She just retired 43 years at this job, and they gave her like a $4,000 watch. And I said, you spent it was like 42 years. I said, you spent 42 years of this job, and they just gave you a little tiny watch that cost a couple grand. That's crazy. But a mother who just worked corporate job, worked extremely hard, and a father had jobs here and there. And so I really didn't grow up from a very wealthy family. And I was on a podcast yesterday and they asked, well, how'd you get the mindset you have? And, you're so driven. Where is it coming from? And at a very young age, I was just so intrigued about business. And I love businesses, why they failed, why they succeeded, everything about them. And growing up, I was always an entrepreneur. I left college early to pursue real estate. Once I got into real estate, I decided to really focus all my time and energy on it, which I felt that's what gained the success that I did during my sales of brokerage. But I felt like I reached a limit. We play the game Monopoly, and how do you win the game? You have to own the real estate and rent it. And I realized that you don't broker real estate in the game Monopoly. So I said, I'm in the wrong business. And my goal is to build a company that's a Carlyle, a BlackRock, a Blackstone, an Apollo, a KKR. That's my goal. And we're on track to hit that. So that's when I switched everything over into multifamily syndication, which we were founded 2019, February 1st of last year. We did within 7 months a little over 40 million and 364 units, and currently we're still trying to locate. We're in final and best on one asset, and then on another asset we're actually exploring the student housing sector. So very excited about that. Very excited about where this year is going to be headed for Q.C.Capital and each employee that's involved. And we're actually in the process of creating a $350 million real estate opportunistic fund to deploy that into multifamily assets throughout the Southeast. So
you've been a little bit busy.
Both. So I use that word very carefully. Busy is being different than productive. I've been productive, but also busy with a newborn. So I've been a mixture of both, but I always have to tell myself, am I being busy or am I being productive?
Fair point.
But yes, it's been a 50-50 because of the newborn.
Fair point. So listen, a couple of things. So you talk about this, and this is one of the things that we have in common, right? I don't come from a family of a wealthy family at all. No silver spoons anywhere, even close to my family. So you talked about having this goal, and you talked about a number of the different companies that you like to emulate yourself at, or at least go towards. I'll call it even a little bit clearer. So I know that you have a goal to go out and create the type of company that is creating $1 billion annually, I think is if I understood it properly.
Yeah, I think BlackRock and Blackstone are like at 20 to 30 billion annually, but it's, very large.
Correct. So, and having that gap, right? Not coming from a family where you had a silver spoon in your mouth. Help me understand a little bit of, like, what's the driver for you to have humble means to then want to just be like gangbusters,
Yeah. And I got asked this question yesterday too. And at a very young age, I was so intrigued with business. I was 5 years old and my dad would put me in a suit, and I loved suits, still do to this day. And I'd go to work with them and I would just sit in and listen, because if you're listening, you're learning. If you're talking, you're not listening. You need to listen to learn. So I would just listen to these gentlemen, and my father's older. So currently my father's 80 years old. So, I was hanging around people who were 50, 60, 70, 80 years old. So all I would do is listen. And they had a ton of wisdom, ton of knowledge, and I would just listen, understand what they're trying to talk about. And I think that's really opened my eyes to the business world. And then I remember as a young kid, there was a wealthy neighborhood that was gated down the street, and I'd ride my bike to it, and I would sneak under the gate and just ride my bike in the neighborhood. And I just looked at these large homes and I said, one day I'll own one of these and I'll live there with a family. But I was so intrigued how real estate, it was always there. Real estate's everywhere. Wherever you go, there's real estate. You can't take it away, number one. Number two, when you're specializing on multifamily, it's a necessity. You cannot take housing away. Amazon took a real Amazon made the retail sector take a really hard hit, and COVID's making it seal the deal on retail. but you cannot create a Amazon and take housing away. We need it. And more people are flocking to multifamily. And when it comes to student housing, which we're slowly educating ourselves on and getting into, the college is always around. I don't know of any college that went out of business. They've been around since the early 1900s, some in the 1800s. So that drive to see that, I see it as a game, though. I see, if I can reach 1 billion assets within 2 years, and then 10 billion assets within 10 years, then I just see that as a stepping stone on a game I'm playing, and my goal is to achieve that. And as an entrepreneur, I don't have anyone waking me up in the morning. My mind is waking myself up. So you have to have a strong mindset to get yourself out of bed, to be productive instead of be busy when you're working, to ensure you're working on the correct things. That right there will help project your business, project your mindset, but strengthen that determination to grow a company if you want to grow it the size that I want to.
Perfect. So, Chris, one of the things you talk about as you're growing your company, growing your business, there's a clear motor, which is sales, right? Sales is one of the aspects of any company. Without sales coming in the door, the company's probably not going to last very long.
Oh, for sure.
So talk to me about the role that, you led your sales team when you were doing residential.
Oh, yeah.
You led that team to become the number one team in the Carolinas. So talk to us a little bit, like, where did the desire to get involved in the sales profession come from?
Sales is very unique, and I love it. But when people say they're not a salesperson, I say you're wrong. Do you have a wife or do you have a girlfriend? Well, you sold yourself on that date. So you're a salesperson. Our kids sell us every single day because they want things, and they'll go back and forth to mom and dad. So you're always a salesperson. But when it came to it, I throughout the college and school days, in my younger days, I was called dyslexic. I didn't care to read these large history books about the 1900s. I wanted to read about business. I wanted to read about creating companies. And so I was always intrigued about that, and I picked up a job. I was a security officer at a local amusement park here called Carowinds, and in 1 year I jumped from there all the way to managing the whole security department. Which they had a strict rule that you cannot do that, but they allowed me to do that because of the knowledge that I wanted to pour into that department. And being in that role, I will always credit them because I spoke with thousands of people throughout the time I worked there, and it was all about communication. And I learned very quickly how people communicated when they're mad, when they're sad, when they're happy, what to say to them, what not to say to them, how to get their attention off what they're thinking. And that's a very key part when it comes to sales. And I think that's definitely what helped me project when I sold and when I brokered real estate. And currently right now, how I have the company is that I raise all the capital for each deal that we acquire. And for this fund that we're doing, I will be raising all the capital. So when it comes to it, it's very important to know how to communicate. There's a book that I like. It's called Crucial Conversations. I was just looking at my bookshelf, called Crucial Conversations, which I love. Yeah. It's on Audible too, but it really goes deep into conversations and how to have conversations. And when someone's upset, mad, happy, how to understand them and not say certain things to throw gas on the fire to make sure that you can calm them down, or whatever it is, even in an argument or discussion. So that's a great book, but really understanding how the human body and the human mind works when it comes to sales, it's key. And I've studied that very heavily. I've read countless books on it. I'm listening to a book on Zig Ziglar now, but it's key. And I'm so intrigued on how the mind works, because the mind's the strongest part of your body. It controls everything. So I'm so intrigued on it. And I think that's how helped me in the sales industry. understand how people are marketed to. One thing real quick, and I'll wrap it up, is that I watch TV just for the commercials, about 30 minutes a day. And I don't know if you ever heard anyone say that. I don't like commercials, but the reason why I watch them is because I want to see how they're marketing to the population. I want to see what they're doing, what they're saying, what type of colors they're putting up there, flashes. I want to see all that and analyze that, because that is training the 98% of the population to focus on the TV screen and, oh, if it's a good product, I'm going to buy it, or I'm going to look for more information about it. So I watch that very closely. It's all about mindset when it comes to sales.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely mindset piece. I wanted to ask you another question. You mentioned something before, but you're a big sports fan?
I am a big sports fan. I'm actually in the process of educating myself to create a fund to buy out NBA teams. So,
okay, all right, very cool, very cool. And you yourself were also active in sports before,
yes,
right?
I was going to play D1 football, but I decided to run Division I track. Very quickly, I realized that the NFL is a great business, so I'd rather be an owner than be a player. So I started running track in college.
Fantastic. So there's a couple of things. And on the sales side, so you've had that training, you understood it, you see it, you put it into practice today. Completely agree. When you look at sales, there's the sales. Before that, you have the marketing to kind of get the attention and move things through, right? And then you also have a strong foundation in terms of team sports. I'm just curious if you could share with us, when you think about the skills that you learned and continue to develop every day and working in a team to be able to go out and achieve, kind of what are some of the lessons that you've learned from those two areas that are helping you to accelerate your success today?
I love that question. When I was in school in my younger days, they called when you looked at someone, or actually when you had someone do a paper for you, or when you had someone do any type of assignment for you and you turned it in, they called that cheating. I called that leverage, because I wasn't good at that assignment. So I used someone who was good at that assignment and I paid them to give me the assignment, and then I turned it in. So I use that as leverage. And believe it or not, in school they say that's cheating, but everyone does it in today's world. They use Google as leverage. They use other people as Upwork to edit podcasts, to do back-end paperwork for you as leverage. So one thing I learned is that if you think you're going to go through life greedy, or if you think you're going to go through life and do it all, you're not. You need a team. You need to build relationships and have a strong team. I always think of a team as a foundation of a high-rise building. If you're building a high-rise building, the foundation is the strongest part of the building. You do not want any cracks. You don't want anything wrong with that foundation, or the high-rise won't be able to grow to a large company. So I implemented the right team members starting off, making sure they're well educated, they're very strong, and that they're going to add value not only to the investors that invest alongside within the or alongside the company, but also to the company. And I ensured that their strength was my weakness. And as a leader, you have to realize that, look, you have weaknesses, but bring someone on that's their strength, and we all go together. And then also as a leader, leading a team, you need to understand that you may come up with ideas, but they may not be the best ideas. So a great book I love is Think and Grow Rich. And in there, Andrew Carnegie said he'd have a circle round table and everyone would mastermind around that round table. And that's what I do. We have a call because everyone's spread out just right now, but we'll all be housed under one roof shortly. But we have a Zoom call of a meeting, and I tell them, what's going on, with the company. I give them my ideas that I'm thinking, and I have them come back and tell me, no, you're wrong, or no, not necessarily no, you're wrong, but hey, have you thought about it in this way? Or that may not work, but have you thought about it in this way? And I've trained them all to do that, to where, we are all masterminding, because you see things differently than I do. I see things differently than you do. So it's always good to get multiple perspectives. And if you have a strong team to lead that team, then you will be able to grow. So that team atmosphere has definitely helped me to understand, look, I can't be the quarterback. I need to be the wide receiver, but I need to have a quarterback. And then I need to have linemen, and I need to make sure that, we have a running back and another wide receiver out there, so we all work together as a team. And that's how it is creating a company. But as a captain of a team, you need to understand that, some other people may be more talented than you, and some people, may work harder than you. Not within our company. I work very hard, but you need to embrace that as a captain and as a team leader, and to combine that to grow a company.
Yeah, I think that's a great perspective, right? Because when you do look at the team members, there are so many different people. You need the team in order to win the championship.
That's right.
And there are different players with different skill sets, and so each one of those skill sets are invaluable in their own. The way that the coach, right,
Correct,
gets them to move in synchronicity, that's what allows the team to progress and move forward. So knowing that you had that background from a team sport perspective, as well as that sales engine, I was just really interested in your perspective on how those kind of skills and knowledge are helping you to take your company forward today. So that's a great understanding. So thanks for that, Chris.
Yeah. I want to touch on one thing real quick.
Yeah, sure.
Some people may think like, the Olympics, that's a sport, but those are individuals. Yeah. Well, if those individuals did not have teammates to train next to push them harder, they wouldn't have won gold. It's always a team sport. There's always people involved, a coach, their team to push them. So it's always a team sport, and that's how it is in business and in sales.
Yeah. Good stuff. So one of the things you talked about before as well is that you like to study not only the best in the business, but you also talked about you studied businesses that failed. And I know you take away learning lessons from them. You talked about from the very beginning, like some of the things that happened. So I know that you kind of looked at companies like Sears, like Toys R Us, where things didn't quite, things didn't quite work for them, right? Ironically. So, talk to us about some of the different lessons that you learned from the companies that have failed.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a great question. Let's talk about, we can talk about Sears. So in my opinion, Sears over-leveraged and they went too wide. You need to narrow down your focus. If you ever watch a racehorse, what do the horses have on their eyes? They have blinders. The reason why is because they don't want the horse to look side to side, because it may distract them from the end all goal. Sears, in my opinion, they spread it too wide. From when Sears first opened, they were a hardware store. You got everything, all your tools and stuff there. Well, I know when I went into Sears, it was at least 5-7 years ago. I can't remember, but they had an eye doctor in there that they owned. Then they had kitchen supplies. Then they had bedding supplies. Then you could buy beds in there. So they started to try to grow to a whole store, which not everyone wants to buy everything from one store. They want to buy it from different stores. And I think that's what hurt them, is that they tried to spread outside of their niche. And they realized very quickly that they weren't the market experts there. So, it's terrible. When we talk about WeWork over leveraged. WeWork just crazy over leveraged, and it was ridiculous on what they did. The CEO should not be CEO. They went out and they got leases on the properties. They guaranteed the leases, and then they tried to lease to the tenants, but realized very quickly that their lease payment was too high. What other companies do is that other companies own the actual property, which their monthly payment is not that high. So if their monthly payment's not that high, they're able to achieve that. But WeWork also tried to create a school for kids, and they tried to over leverage in regards to growing too quickly. And when you grow too quickly, you'll have growing pains, and that will limit your growth of your company.
So what you've been able to take away from these types of things these types of failed companies is really helping you to understand keeping your focus, continue to do what you're best in class at, so that you can create that, I guess, what Jim Collins would call the flywheel effect.
Yes. And if you read the book, The One Thing, I love it. And, you may have some listeners say, well, what about diversity? And I love diversity. And to get to that level, though, you need to have your focus on one thing to grow a large company. And once you can diverse and you have the capital to diverse, then you start to diverse. But starting a company, you don't create 5 things at once. You need to focus on one thing and then start to focus on the other.
Yeah, I think Mr. Keller, I guess, led that kind of charge, and being able to focus on that one domino. That when you do that, it kind of makes everything else fall down. I guess that there's a lot of sense there.
Oh yeah.
So you know what, and I feel like we could probably just keep going on talking forever and ever. I do have, I guess, kind of one other question for you. Now, I know you focus a lot of your energy on building your team. Mm-hmm. You've talked about a word before, syndication. Maybe you could talk a little bit about kind of what's on the horizon for you, Chris, and Q.C.Capital. What are some of the things you all plan on doing?
Yeah, great question. So our goal was a minimum of 100 million assets under management this year. COVID-19 did take a hit to that goal just because of what's going on. Sellers are holding. Sellers are the last people to realize their property value dropped. So they're holding right now. They don't want to pay, or they're not willing to agree to pay what buyers are willing to pay. So that took a little dip. So we are syndicating assets. But if you asked me this time last year, what's your end all goal? It's to create a fund. And my 2020 goals was to create a fund. And everyone in my team knows that when I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. And I want it done as soon as possible. And we are in the process of creating a $350 million real estate opportunistic fund. So this year we will syndicate assets. I say next year we'll still syndicate assets, but once the fund is up and running, we will slowly leave the syndication model of the retail investors and go to much larger investors like the pensions, endowments, family offices, public and private pensions, sovereign wealth funds, individuals and investors like that.
Okay. Fantastic, man. So this is wow. You've given us a number of things to think about, and you're going to give us a couple more things to think about. But
I love it.
Before we, I guess, kind of wrap things up, I always love to ask 3 questions, and they're what we like to call the going long final 3 questions. But I only ask those questions, Chris, if you tell me you're ready to answer the questions.
I'm ready.
Question to you is, you're ready? All right, good. I can even get the question out. I love it.
I get hyped.
See, this is the sports thing. This is it. I love it.
That's right.
All right, listen. So first question, Chris, is what is your favorite European city that you've either visited or that you have on your bucket list?
Santorini, Greece. Ooh, I loved it. I did go to Mykonos, but I loved Santorini. I'm more of a laid back. I'm not a big partier. In Mykonos, you need to make sure you have 2 livers. I found out. So I love Santorini. It's more relaxed. I love the food there, the people there. But my end all goal is, because I am Italian, I'd love to go to Italy. And my fiance and I were going to get married in Italy. But with everything that happened, we had to postpone it. So we are looking now probably the Caribbean, but Italy's on the bucket list for Europe.
Very cool. So I used to live in Italy, so we should have another conversation about that at a different time. But I had a wonderful experience living in Italy.
Oh, I love it.
Next question. So really, Chris, you've done a lot of things. You've had lots of success. I'm going to guess that probably along the way, because all successful people I've spoken to have made a couple of mistakes along the way. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to guess you have too.
Yes.
So, okay, perfect. You're confirming that. So that being the case, would you be open to sharing at least one lesson that you paid 100% for, that with someone, when they're listening to you, they may not have to pay 100% for that same lesson?
Yeah. Oh, most definitely. So when it comes to trust, it's very important to me. And really embedding the individual. And this is growing pains. And along the way of growth, there was a individual I trusted. worked for me, did multiple things for me for a couple years. And they saw the growth, they saw the success, and they thought, well, they wanted to tap into that success. And they stole around 90,000 cash from me, which, yes, it was a little setback. But my mindset, I always find the positive, which I get to write that off on my taxes as a loss. So I always find the positive out of any negative. But that was a very strong setback to ensure that as we're growing a company and we're on the path to our goals, we need to ensure that our foundation is very strong with individuals that have the same vision and understand it very clearly. Because if you don't, then it will definitely hinder. But I always recommend everyone to find a coach, find a mentor that is in your career that's very successful. Pay for it. I paid a large amount for my coach. When it comes to this fund that we're creating, I'm willing to pay quadruple of what I paid for my syndication coach, because I know that they'll help me limit mistakes. They'll also give me introductions, get me in the right room with successful people, and that's very important.
Okay, perfect. So, and it all starts at the basis of trust. So,
yes.
Which is fantastic. And so you've already talked about a couple different books. I know you love to read. You're always filling your mind. What one book would you recommend to someone at this point in time?
It's not a real estate book. It's a mindset book, and it's called Think and Grow Rich.
Yep.
And Zig Ziglar. I mean, I can recommend a ton of books. I'm listening to Zig Ziglar 17 hours, which is crazy. But I would say Think and Grow Rich. I need to read that book again because it's a book you got to read multiple times. Because it really comes down and talks about mindset, how to open your mindset and positivity, creating that positivity. I'm very firm believer of laws of attraction. I meditate in the morning and in the evening, and I create that mindset for success. I envision the house I want to live in, the company I have, the car. I don't care about cars, but the company I want to have, I envision it multiple times. And if you do that, you'll grow a large company. You'll create the financial freedom you want to create. You can travel the world with your family, but it's very important. So I would definitely highly recommend that.
Okay. Awesome. So listen, Chris, you've shared so much knowledge with us. You've really helped us to understand when you're getting started, it's about getting started, rolling up the sleeves. It doesn't matter if you're brand new. Because even if you are brand new, you can rise to the top of the class. You can lead the number one sales team in the organization in your geographic area. You can go out and be the highest achiever. You can continue to focus. You talked about the way that you focus on things, that you visualize things, and that it helps them to become a reality. You talked about how sales has also helped you and your company to continue to grow.
Always.
The aspect of team working and being able to put the right team members on the bus, so to speak, so that you can go out and achieve at championship levels. So look, man, I know that I've wanted to continue to stay in touch with you. I'm sure that lots of other people now want to reach out to you. So Chris, what's the best way for our audience to connect with you and your team?
Yeah, great. Thank you for that. And thank you for having me on here. The best way to reach out to me is directly on email, chris@QCCapitalGroup.com. Visit our website at QCCapitalGroup.com as well. And I'm on Instagram at Chris_Salerno_. And you can find me on Facebook as well at Chris Salerno.
All right. Fantastic. So what we'll do, Chris, we're going to make sure that all of those ways to contact you are in the show notes.
Thank you.
Everyone can reach out and do that. And I would definitely recommend go ahead and reach out to Chris, reach out to his team, find out more about what they're doing at QC Capital. And Chris, thanks a lot for joining us here today on the Going Long podcast.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me. And I hope you have a great day.
Awesome. So, and also too, for the Going Long audience, just want to, once again, reminder, we're continuing to grow our community. Want to go out and ask you right up front to at least share today's episode. There's so many great knowledge points here. Share it with at least 2 or 3 other people so we can grow our community. And look, I'm really looking forward to welcoming you back on the next episode, and go out and make it a great day. Wow, don't you love hearing from top-notch experts in the field? You know, when I was getting started, I really wish that I would have had access to such experts. And even more, I wish they would have given me like a really simple list of things to follow so that I could have gotten to my goals much faster and been much happier even sooner. So that's why I've created for you the 7 things that you should avoid in order to be successful in long distance investing. And you can pick that up really easily by going to billykeels.com/7 things to avoid. And also, if you liked today's episode, don't forget to leave a 5-star review. I'm looking forward to seeing you on our very next episode, so go out and make it a great day.